can answer the question, Judge. You can't handle the truth.
I ate his liver with some fava beans and a nice Chianti.
Rubs the lotion on its skin or else it gets the hose again.
Welcome to After Hours AM, The Criminal Code, with your hosts, Joel Sturgis, Eric Olsen, and Dr. Clarissa Cole.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to this edition of After Hours AM. I'm your host, Joel Sturgis. Right along with me,
Eric Olsen and
Dr. Clarissa Cole.
And this, of course, is the Criminal Code edition of After Hours AM. My mistake. I was thinking about tomorrow when it is only Wednesday. I'm like in a strange, odd time warp, but either way, welcome to the show. And tonight is a bit of, we're going to be talking deeper about the subject of family annihilators with Dr. Cole, top of next hour, and that will be the Chris Watts case. It's a strange case, and more. Now, of course, he has been convicted, and we're going to get into all that. But really, what made him become what he became? What was the symptoms up to? And it seems like a lot of people are curious because, quite honestly, he doesn't look like somebody like that. You look at him, and he seems like he could be anybody. He really does. So we'll be digging deeper into that top of next hour. But until then, I got to find out how the hell everyone's doing. Eric, you living large and in charge?
Oh, well, like we were discussing a little bit before there, we were preparing from, for weeks, but certainly Friday on, the family started arriving. Maybe it was Thursday night. And so we had my mother's service on Saturday. So that was, of course, a big deal. And lots and lots went into it, but everyone did a great job. I think my mother would have been very, very happy. Or let's put it another way. She was very pleased with the results, I am assuming. And so it was satisfying. Of course, it's hard. It's very difficult. But I think we're all real happy and satisfied that we have crossed over the river Styx, as it were. And since then, I've just been working on. I just thought I'd take a little time off from all the usual routine, and I've just been working on getting things organized. We still have so much of my parents' stuff, and we're trying to get through it and get it in order. And we're going to start selling some things, and we're giving to the family. We're starting to go through the difficult task of sorting out the various things and having people pick things out and starting to go through that process. So in the middle of all that, we're just trying to get our house back in order. And I am a music guy, as you guys probably know. I'm a fanatic, actually, and I have about 20,000 plus CDs, and I inherited my dad's CDs, probably another 1,000. And interestingly, his are in a completely different area. His are mostly classical, of which I have very few. So I have inherited a large and complete classical collection. So that's kind of cool. I'll listen to it once in a while, dip into it. But I figured I would just use this time to do some reorganizing, rearranging. And it's actually been very, very satisfying. It takes a ton of time. I've been at it since Sunday. I'm not kidding. And I pretty much finished now, but 4 days worth of organizing and filing and whatnot. But I feel like a new man. So how are you guys?
Dr. Cole, you holding up just fine?
Oh, yeah. Oh, I'm doing great. I'm totally fine. I'm not doing it, that amazing
I know,
lately.
right?
Yeah, I mean, we're getting ready to have a garage sale coming up in like a week or so, and it takes more work than I remember, but of course, what I think is sort of like being a kid and it being fun. Yeah, wow. It should.
Garage sales are never fun under any circumstances unless you're attending a garage sale.
Yeah,
then it's fun.
You're probably right.
But
yeah,
putting one on, no, I'm good. No, thank you. I don't want anyone rummaging through my possessions, I guess. Well, I do have a story about that. Now, everybody knows I have a wonderful wife, and she is just the apple of my eye. She keeps me going. But one time she decided, hey, I'm going to have a garage sale. Yeah, things were stolen out of my garage more than there was a sale going on. So to this day, I blame her. I blame her for the theft of some objects that were near and dear to my heart. Yeah, I'm looking at you over there. It's all your fault. Yeah, I'll see you.
That's awful. I'm so sorry. We actually caught a kid trying to pocket some stuff a couple of years ago. He's actually a pretty good kid. So, of course, we befriended him. He was out helping us with yard work the other day. Long story.
Wait. You befriended somebody and they ripped you off?
No. We caught him. That was how we met the kid. We caught him ripping.
Wait a second.
Why would you happen to you a lot?
I was gonna say, why would you befriend a thief? Come on, you might as well just show him where your valuables are, because he's gonna find out. Yeah, well,
he was 8.
They start young, Clarissa. You know, can't say you can't say that you've been stealing your whole life unless you start young. Come on.
I suppose that's true. Yes.
Well, 8-year-olds have such nimble little.
They do. They're like pint-sized ninjas, and plus they don't set off a lot of motion detectors because their size. So think about that. Children are the perfect cat burglars.
Yes, they are, definitely.
Just ask Fagin.
Good reference.
Exactly. Me on my end, life is grand. We do have spring setting in the Great North Woods, 60 degrees today. Couldn't hardly believe it. I have taken on yet another automobile project that I'll be working on. I bought myself a 1995 Z71 off-road 4-wheel drive Chevrolet pickup. Man, I love those trucks. So that's this summer's project, is to get that restored and have fun with it.
Wow.
That is awesome.
Yeah. So it'll be good times.
I can't even imagine doing such a thing.
Oh, it's a whole lot of fun. If you got into it, Eric, you'd love it. Come on. It's transforming what once was old into something new. It's a lot of fun.
I'd rather file CDs.
Well, maybe. But you can listen to CDs while you do it. Huh?
Well,
best of both worlds.
A bonus, yes.
Best of both worlds. You could file your CDs when you're not working on the truck. See. Anyhow, I suppose we should back up here and give everyone what they want, and that is some true crime headlines. And then again, top of next hour, we're going to dive headlong into the craziness of family annihilators, specifically Mr. Chris Watts. So don't go anywhere. That will be a great top of second hour, though. That's really a strange case. All right, Dr. Cole, where would you like to kick us off on the world of high strange crime?
Okay, well, this one caught my interest because I'm like, wow. I mean, it hadn't struck me as a crime per se, but then I thought, I think she's onto something here. So there's a woman in New York, and she has a class action, mind you, class action lawsuit going against TGI Fridays.
Oh, why? Why TGI Fridays? They have such good food.
Did you know?
No.
This might shock you. So brace yourself. Did you know that TGI Fridays bagged potato skins contain no potato skins?
Then
what kind of skins do they contain?
Yeah, what is that?
he asked apprehensively.
Human flesh? What kind of skin is that?
There's no skin whatsoever.
Then what is it?
Potato skins. It is potato flakes and potato starch.
Question.
But no skins.
Why sue over it though? And class action nonetheless. Who cares? Go feed the hungry. Go help the homeless. Go do something that matters other than suing over TGI Fridays, because those delectable little fake potato skins are still damn good. All right? I don't care what they're made of.
Oh, no. I mean, the only reason that I am bringing this up is because I'm just going to say it. I often can't find good lawyers attached to really high stakes criminal cases. So the fact that this woman was able to find a lawyer to start a class action lawsuit over a $1.99 bag of chips, hats off, woman. Good.
But it's kind of frivolous, isn't it? Think about it
yes,
for a second.
Of course,
I mean, it's wasting the wheel. It's wasting justice's time.
She is admiring.
I understand
its
that.
frivolousness.
I understand what she's
It's
admiring.
Frivolosity. It's frivolosity.
But somebody needs to walk up to this lady and say, you're taking away valuable time, court time, mind you, that could be used to convict people of horrible things.
I don't blame her, right? I mean, it's up to the lawyer whether or not they take the case.
That is true.
So, you can want to sue anybody for anything. There has to be a lawyer that goes, you know what? There's no actual potato skins in those. What?
Potato?
Well, I know exactly what courtroom they would be in should I decide to show up for court to see this go down. It'd be the one with the slime trail just before the door. Because any attorney in good faith that would take this case must be kind of on the slimy side.
Absolutely. I'm just impressed all the way around that anyone is making this happen. And so I just thought I'd bring that to everybody's attention, everyone. And if somebody can find out who the attorney is, please write him admiring letters. I'm sure he loves fan mail.
Well, I hear Robert Mueller has nothing better to do these days, so maybe we can put him on the case to figure out how this happened.
Do not get me started.
The report won't be made public, so don't go to him.
Yeah. Anyhow, TGI Fridays. I love your potato skins. I don't care what they're made of.
I know, I do too, so who cares? All right, now there is another wily criminal, this one out of Australia. So he is a drug suspect. He has not been convicted yet, but he's a drug suspect that was caught fleeing Australia by Sea-Doo.
Wow. You mean he was going to try to...
leaving the continent.
On a Sea-Doo?
Yeah.
He honestly thought that taking a Sea-Doo in the open ocean was a good idea?
He's 57 years old.
Oh,
he
boy.
set out on Monday on a Sea-Doo from the northern tip of Australia's Queensland state, carrying enough fuel to make the 140-kilometer trip across the Torres Strait, and he was armed with a crossbow on top of it.
A crossbow. A crossbow. And what was his destination?
Papua New Guinea, I guess.
There's people that eat you in Papua New Guinea. You know that, right?
Maybe that's why he has the crossbow.
I
don't know.
The only place where they actually do have skins, and it's not potato types.
Do you know how I imagine this went down, though? I could not help myself. I'm thinking this guy's got drug charges, right?
Yeah.
And he needs to flee. He's going to flee justice, and he's got like $500 in his pocket, and he goes to somebody that outfits criminals. He said, "Okay, I need a speedboat and an AK-47," and they're like, "We got a Sea-Doo and a crossbow for that."
We're having to run a crossbow since The Walking Dead started getting good again. So
I know, with $500, you're not going to get like a real watercraft and a gun for that.
No, and yeah, 100+ miles in the open ocean. That's a lot of open ocean.
Can you imagine how tired you'd be?
Oh my God, that would be horrible. Those
forearms. Ow!
Those things take work to drive.
Yeah, like when you're standing up and having to hold the trigger down with your hand. Oh my God.
And the guy's 57, instant arthritis.
Oh, instant. He probably already has the rheumatism. And,
you know what this brought up, Clarissa and Joel? Have you noticed that some of these perpetrators seem to be getting older?
Yeah, because they're getting desperate ever since, the whole thing happened.
We're getting more people who I don't think would have used to do such things or behaving in antisocial manners. People into their 60s.
Maybe.
It's weird.
One thing I did realize the other day, and present company excluded and our listeners excluded, I freaking hate people. The older I get, the more I hate people.
Get off my lawn, Earth.
Really, I do. I'm starting, especially idiots. They really bother me. And I'm not going to go into it because I promised I wouldn't. But just some things that rub me wrong. You know what I mean? That never used to bother me. But now I'm firmly in my mid-40s. And I'm thinking, my God, these people are stupid. I don't know if wisdom's caught up to me to some extent, going, wow, when I was that young, I won't be that stupid. Or what's going on, but lately I have no tolerance for morons. Like zero, none. Like I'll call them right to their face. You person are an idiot. Right to their face. It's horrible of me.
Yeah, I'm similar the older I get, but I think too that there is kind of sort of a sample bias here, meaning that like some of the people that we feature in our true crime stories and the people that sort of hit the airwaves, the reason that they strike us as stupid criminals maybe is because they haven't done anything until their 50s or 60s. So,
Well,
I mean, obviously they're making really dumb mistakes.
Okay, this guy with a Sea-Doo research some crap, okay? You know what? Just don't grab
On
a
the
Sea-Doo.
internet.
Yeah, at least talk to someone that has some experience with a Sea-Doo and go, hey, man, would it be possible to get to Papua New Guinea on a Sea-Doo? Just ask them casually. If they say hell no, know that you're never going to make it because you're not experienced with a Sea-Doo, and they are. So if they're saying it's not going to happen, you might want to step away from the drugs. Get off the drugs and realize that you're over the hill, man, when it comes to the drug trade. It's just not for you anymore.
Yeah, they did. Obviously, they caught him and have like aerial footage and all that awesome stuff. So
Satellite
that's
imagery.
Quite yeah. I mean, it's quite the way to like go down is having something like that happen. So that's pretty sad indeed.
Could you imagine him trying to outrun those boats in a Sea-Doo? Nee. Pull over, sir. Nee. Screw you, cop. Nee. I know, going all of 25 miles an hour. Yeah.
Good Lord.
Give it up.
So that is how that ended for him. But I had to share that story because I'm thinking to myself that I don't know if he's like the bravest guy ever or,
But
just dumb.
what surprises me is just social Darwinism hasn't kicked in for these people yet. That these morons are living longer. I mean, I remember when natural selection would have killed someone like that long before this incident. What the hell? Come on, Darwin. You're all wrong.
Well, I mean, I think that takes us to the next story of Florida Man, because, speaking of people not being taken out.
Speaking of evolution or de-evolution, as the case.
You know what I mean, though? You would have thought that someone that dumb would not have survived for 57 years.
You'd think so, but I don't know. Maybe he was just living a sheltered life until he decided to get into the drug trade. I don't know.
Very well could be. All right, I will stop my rant about dumb people, and we will move on.
To another dumb person, Florida Man. So, Florida Man. They have a mugshot of this poor individual as well, and he looks disgruntled, sad, and confused all at the same time.
He looks like Screech on a bender.
He
Remember
does.
the show Screech? He looks like Dustin Diamond with really bad career, choices.
So
like even worse than what he
actually,
did.
Dustin Diamond, then, right? Because he didn't make good
No, that's what I'm
choices
saying.
either.
That he did do
Yeah.
horrible choice. This is his doppelganger.
Yes, his name is Brian Anderson, this one. And he's from Florida. And he decided one day when he woke up, you know what? I don't feel like going to work today.
Wow, who hasn't done that? Come on.
Yeah, right. I mean, like that's understandable. So instead of going to work, I guess he couldn't think of a suitable excuse not to go, or couldn't feign an illness. So instead, he called 911 to report an armed robbery.
You know what I learned, though, really quickly? If you call into work, one thing they will never question is explosive diarrhea.
There's no arguing with explosive.
If you call in and say, I got explosive diarrhea,
yourself.
boom, done. You are approved for
Right,
any
you
time
get
off.
on the phone and you just turn around and let it rip. And all they hear is
All right.
That's a good point. He should have tried that. I think it would have worked for him. Instead, he actually called 911 to report an armed robbery. He told the police that two suspects stole his money, necklace, and cell phone, and then sped off in a black Crown Victoria. And I'm thinking, you said that the guy that robbed you was driving a Crown Vic like the cops drive? Like, was that all bleeding together for you or something?
So
what happened there?
So you're gonna tell them to look for an obsolete black car,
Right.
that, Crown Victoria has been made in many years. And so, he didn't choose like a Prius or something that's everywhere.
Right.
But he chooses
chose
one.
a literal cop car.
Yeah, a
really.
cop car that would stick out like a sore thumb if they come up on it. Okay,
Yes.
that is such a smart move.
Yes, and so that's what the Polk County Sheriff's Office said he did, and so authorities obviously responded to find out what was going on. And once they get there, see, I don't think Anderson thought ahead to them coming to visit him.
Gotcha. He thought he would just be able to call in the 911 report. They would run around looking for these people that allegedly robbed him, and they would never come to take a statement. That's what he was counting on.
Something, yeah. Could call work and tell them or whatever, but instead authorities did respond, and they found out that he made the whole thing up because he didn't want to go to work. So of course they promptly arrested him and charged him with misuse of 911, knowingly giving false information to a law enforcement officer, et cetera, et cetera. So he didn't have to go to work.
Well, and he won't have to worry about work for at least 90 days, I would imagine.
Yeah, until he has his court date, he's not going to have to worry about that at all.
Yeah,
So
I'm sure they fired him promptly.
you would think. Wait, you didn't want to work so bad, you got yourself arrested? Really? I don't know how to feel about it. Yeah. So
Yeah. That poor Dustin Diamond wannabe.
I know. It is kind of sad. Like I said, his mugshot looks bedraggled and confused and kind of sad.
He actually looks like he needs a hug from his mother. Look at that look.
I know.
Just kind of looks like, a chocolate chip cookie, some hot chocolate. And a hug. He needs that right there.
But you guys were talking earlier about explosive diarrhea, which is great because that actually leads into our next story.
Oh, good.
Well, good, because, if you're sliding into first and you feel it, no, never mind.
Let's blow the doors off this sucker.
So this is also out of Australia. There's a man named David Hinkston. He says that his supervisor harassed him before he was eventually laid off of his job. And he said that his boss harassed him by farting.
What?
Yes.
So he's angry. He alleges that his boss farted, and now he's going to sue him for $1.3 million. Yeah. How is any of this even working?
Well, no, I thought it was weird too, but just hold off judgment just a tiny bit for just a moment, because it turns out that David Hanks, the 56-year-old former engineer of Melbourne's construction engineering, says that his supervisor, Greg Short, would enter his small windowless office to fart 5 or 6 times a day. As part of a larger
it was intentional.
Yes.
Oh.
He's the mad farter of Melbourne.
Yes, as a part of a larger conspiracy to terminate his employment. And Hinks actually describes in court documents, I would be sitting with my face to the wall and he would come into the room, fart behind me, and walk away.
In stealth mode.
That's what they call crop dusting.
Yes, apparently. And so I'm thinking to myself, oh my God, this is the most ridiculous thing. But his Greg Short said, well, I may have done it once or twice, maybe. Like, what?
Oh my Lord! But is it worth $1.3 million? No. Is it worth a lawsuit? No. It's flatulence, people. I mean, this guy, really just
It may be worth a punch in the face.
It might be worth a stern talking to, but that's about it. Come on, it's a fart. It's not lethal.
No, I disagree with you. The reason I disagree with you is because, one, it is harassment, especially when your boss is coming in there specifically to harass you with it. It is certainly not, he's an engineer, okay? It's not, and he did want to get rid of this employee who he later called, quote, an idiot. So when you're doing that, you're kind of asking for a lawsuit, and I'm thinking that Mr. Short absolutely deserves what he gets. He was not acting like a boss.
I have flip-flopped. I have flipped my flop.
I know you have, Eric. And I see the point here. It would be harassment, I guess. And you're right. If he looked for him specifically and went to his office. Mm-hmm. I mean, number one, the guy must have, he must have really not liked this David character.
Yeah, obviously he didn't. And that's why it's harassment, is because he was doing it purposely.
And the
to
only
him.
reason why it's moving reporter is because the boss admitted to it. Had the boss been like,
Yep.
"What are you even talking about, you
I know,
crackpot?"
right? I know.
It would have been done. It would have been over with. No leg to stand on. The smell of justice would not be in the air.
I was thinking the same thing, Joel. I was thinking, like, okay, you called the other guy an idiot and you admitted to it?
Yeah, it's like, well, just say, no, that never happened. And if I accidentally broke wind in your presence, I'm sorry.
I apologize.
It was not intended to harass you in any way, but it was kind of funny looking back at the facial expression you give.
Yeah, I mean, like, all he had to do was deny it. There was no other
That's
person
it.
who did it.
That's
Yeah.
all. I have a 12-year-old that takes just absolute glee in his flatulence. Like, it's the funniest thing ever. And so this man obviously is not 12, the one that's doing it, but he's stupid enough to say, yep, I did it a couple times, like he's proud of it. Like, yep, that was me.
Like, he is 12. I'm like, man, this guy... Oh, yeah. You know what? He does belong in jail, because that's that's like the emotional equivalent of jail. That's what that is.
What? Someone partying and leaving?
And laughing about it, like harassing someone in that way. Absolutely. Like, think lowest common denominator when you're thinking of people locked up. So
it would have been better had the boss lit them.
See, but I was thinking, couldn't the employee do that? Could you, like, set that up somehow? Like, he's coming into your office. He's going to do that. Just light him up.
Yeah. I can see where it's harassment. Do I think that just a friendly "I'm sorry" would probably cover it? I would hope so.
Yeah, I know. Well, if he hadn't, like, chased him out and fired him, it probably would have gone better.
Yeah, that's true. He should have thought twice.
It's all about intent.
It is.
It's all about intent.
Come on. We've all been in those moments where
assault with a deadly gas cloud.
Exactly. If you've ever worked in radio and were ever stuck with somebody only, inches away from you in a radio booth, yeah, and they've had chili that afternoon, yep, that's harassment. Yep.
Yeah, I'm like, if you've ever worked in the prison system, you know that this sort of thing also happens with officers. And
they do that to each other or to the prisoners?
Oh, anyone, really. Yeah, no, they're mostly children. I'm sorry.
Well, yeah, most law enforcement that I've come across, and bless their hearts because they put their life in the line, and I'm not saying this to be derogatory in any way except for the fact that sometimes they do act like children. And it very well could be because of the stress of the job, though. Right, Clarissa? You got to do something to break that, add some levity into the situation.
Oh, gosh. I was just going to say the whole reason that I think people joke around is because of that. You have so much stress that you have to joke around somehow in a way that is a bit more innocent than, otherwise it could be interpreted in sort of a bad way. So, yeah.
But, that's the poop on the scoop of that story.
Unbelievable. Yeah. I'm like, when I first saw the headline, I thought, okay, this has no merit. And then I read it and I'm like, oh, wow. Okay. That changed my mind on that one. Oh,
next.
So next. Okay. The next story is, this one is weird for me and I'm torn in a number of ways about it. So I wanted to find out what you guys thought. It's another lawsuit against the Weather Channel.
Why the Weather Channel? They're the fine folks that predict the weather for us. Don't make them mad. Otherwise, they're going to send all the bad weather your way.
Right? Yeah. No. It's a $125 million lawsuit filed against the Weather Channel because I guess on the show, and I actually hadn't known about this, but the Storm Chasers show, there was a terrible fatal wreck. I didn't know about that.
So
that's what ended the show, essentially, was that there was a 2017 terrible wreck that killed 2 on-camera personalities and 1 storm spotter.
Well, it's not like they're not distracted while they're driving it at all.
Yeah, and this
storms.
this is the weirdest part. They ran into each other at a near deserted intersection, one of them going over 70 miles an hour. to try to get good footage of the tornado.
Okay, now, question.
Oh, go ahead. Yeah.
How would this be the Weather Channel's fault, though? They did not tell them, I'm sure, explicitly to break the law to get a good shot.
Well, it's the mother of the person in the other car, the storm spotter, okay, and her son, this storm spotter, Corbin Lee Yeager, he's 25. He had complained about the on-air personalities, Kelly Williamson and Randall Yarnall. He had complained about them before to his mother, and she said, say something to the Weather Channel, which he did. And he said, hey, we're still supposed to abide by traffic laws, right? Like, they're doing some crazy stuff out there. So the Weather Channel was well aware that the two on-air personalities were not obeying traffic laws. And I guess they had sort of slapped him on the wrist for that before, but sort of just they let it happen again and again and again.
Gotcha.
And then they ran into Corbin Lee's car at 70 miles an hour, instantly killing the 25-year-old. And so the mom is suing the Weather Channel because the Weather Channel knew darn well that they were breaking traffic laws because they'd been told about it.
But they did, not to play devil's advocate, but they did take action. They did tell them not to do that. Am I correct? The Weather Channel.
I believe so. But again, they still knew that they were doing it, and they didn't really take any major action. It was just like, hey, try to obey the traffic laws. There was no...
Yeah, nothing real. It was just one of those disregard it and just tell them, hey, try to avoid the traffic laws. No, try to obey the traffic laws and be safe out there. But they clearly were not, and that is just horrific. That is, I feel very sorry for his mother. And but some people will pop up and say, he could have quit.
Well, and that's why I was going to say that's why I'm torn about it. That is why I'm torn about it, because first of all, he was a storm chaser too, and anybody can die doing that, period. Mm-hmm. Like, it's, his mom knew that he chased tornadoes for the Weather Channel. Like, it's not the safest profession anyway. Like, your son was already deciding to do something that, I'm sorry, I consider extremely careless and cavalier with his life. And that was his choice. And I'm sure that he signs every waiver known to man before doing that job.
Oh, I'm sure of it. And again, if he didn't like the working conditions, he, like every other gainfully employed person in the world, at least that has the option to, can quit.
What are your thoughts, Eric?
My thoughts are, I agree with you. It's a very, very hazardous. It's like some people look at the list of the jobs they could have that are the most dangerous and that you have the least control over, at least some of these things. Skydiving, things involving equipment, where if you are careful enough and have your wits about you, you probably will be okay. But something that you have zero control over, namely the whims of a vicious storm. You can't predict it. You don't know what direction it's going to go. And anything could happen. You could be well outside of it, and you could still get hit in the head with a flying cow.
That is true. Riders on the storm.
I mean, it really is kind of ridiculous. And these movies, remember Twister?
Glorifying it.
They really glorify it. They even minimize the danger. And it's crazy. I don't know. Yes, I assume there's marginal benefit to society. I guess we're learning about them, their inner workings and their behaviors and whatnot. But aren't there ways to do it without human involvement? We have drones doing all these things.
And...
Why are we sending people in there?
Yeah, it makes no sense.
Well, and on top of it, we can send drones. They have all these like balloons and really small devices now that they can send that gets taken up with the wind and records everything. And it's, it's not like we can really stop them.
Yeah.
This type of weather, like the best thing to do is to avoid it when it happens.
Well,
I grew up in tornado country. I know a little bit about that. And you get safe. So, I feel like, I guess here's where I'm torn about it. I feel like the Weather Channel knew, I feel like what you were saying, Eric, I think there was very, very limited scientific data being gathered. in these shows. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
it's just for the glitz. It's for the
Right.
fun.
it is.
It's for the payoff.
Well, and it's for the risk too. It's for the sensationalized portrait of these people risking their lives, and the Weather Channel's dangling real people out there saying, "Oh my God, look how crazy dangerous it is." Like I remember the not the trailers, but the commercials for those shows, and thinking, "Good Lord, what are they doing?" And why is a television station even taking part in this? Because that's how dangerous it is. And I was always thinking that they were going to get killed either by a storm, or I was thinking they were going to kill someone else.
Well, you know,
driving the way they were.
Exactly. When I lived in Kansas, watching storms was a spectator sport. People line up along the highway to watch a tornado. It was insane. It was the craziest thing I ever saw. It was like fun for these people.
Well, we used to watch too until it reached a certain distance.
Yeah,
I mean,
it was just really, really odd to see that go on. You know, being from the north where I live, we don't get too many tornadoes. I mean, if we get one every 20 years, that means anything. That's a big deal. Down there is like every week, you know, and they would just gather along the highway, overpasses, everything else, and watch these storms. And you see some strange characters out for these storms, too, by the way. Wow, I saw some strange things. I once saw a cult down there that would watch tornadoes in the nude. They'd be naked.
No.
Yep.
No.
Yep. I did.
Clarissa, you're a psychologist. Why are people drawn to things like this? Is it the thrill and they find an excuse to pursue the thrill, or is it the other way around? I mean, are there people who are so fascinated by, for example, tornadoes, that they are willing to overlook the risk, or is it really about the risk and the tornado hunting is just an excuse?
Or is it B, there's a lot of stupid people out there and we're just weeding out the idiots?
Maybe. I mean, yeah, it's funny because it's like
Self-selecting.
I'm a total hypocrite though to comment on that. I sit around with killers all the time. You know what? I'm like the worst person to ask, and maybe the most qualified, because that's what I chose to do with my life. You know, I do think that there is sort of a natural attraction for some people to danger, myself included. And for me, it's really wanting to understand it, wanting to understand what's behind it. But at the same time, is it just an excuse to kind of get close and dissect what I'm interested in? Sure. I think it's both, you know, chicken or the egg. So it's probably the same for them.
Well, just hang around long enough.
Yeah.
It'll come sweep you up in the old funnel cloud. You'll find out exactly what's going on in there.
Oh, yeah. No, I know. And that definitely is a risk, especially when things happen that you don't expect, like the time that the lights went out when we were sitting with someone in a very small interview room alone, and all the officers left to tend to other duties. And we're literally in pitch blackness with somebody who had, you know, a multiple killer. And we're waiting for the generator to kick in. And then the officer comes back about 10 minutes later and says, yeah, we don't have generator in this building. Sorry about that.
Yeah, that would be unnerving.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
You know, a little bit. You know, I mean,
when I say pitch black, I mean, you can't see your hand in front of your face, like, because there's no windows there. It's at all. Yeah.
But was he shackled?
No. They never are. People always get that wrong with me. They always think there's an officer with me. There never is. They have to be outside the room. And the inmates, unless it is a level 4 institution, which most multiple murderers are not in a level 4 prison, they are not shackled, handcuffed. They're literally sitting in a chair at a table with me. That's how it is. And that was the situation here.
And so the lights went out and you were alone, essentially alone, with this killer.
Yeah.
And he could have, what you're saying is
women.
He could have taken that opportunity to act should he decided to.
Absolutely. Yep.
So yeah, I see what you're saying, but you know, and then other people would say, well, you put yourself in that position.
No, and they'd be absolutely right. And that's why I've told all the people that I love and that love me, I've told my family, I've said this multiple times, unless the prison itself, like the state, does something that you consider really negligent, like, I don't know, accidentally locking me in a cell with someone, you know, like Fight Club or something. Unless the state does something like that, if something were to happen to me, know that I chose it. Don't seek damages for this. This was what I chose for my life, and if something happens, it happens.
Sure.
You can't do anything about it, and I would never want to blame my employers.
At least you'd be dying doing something you love.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, that was definitely sort of one of those wake up calls, though, where you think everything's sort of under your control, and then you realize it's all an illusion.
Well, it is all illusion. Driving your car in a lot of ways is just the illusion of control.
Yeah, exactly.
So really, yeah, I could see these people that wait for these storms and this young man that lost his life. It's a horrible tragedy. I don't know how far she will get with a lawsuit for a lot of reasons, and one of them, it's the Weather Channel, and they have a lot of money, deep pockets, really good attorneys. And there's no attorney, I would think that there would not be any attorney that they would employ that would not have just about every release known to man to be signed by these people before they go out.
The only caveat that I see with this that I think actually is a real problem for the Weather Channel, because it applies in my job too, right? So I sign all these waivers when you start doing what I do, anti-hostage contracts, meaning that they're not going to negotiate for your life if you're taken hostage, all these different things that basically sign your safety away, that they are not going to negotiate for you. They'll do the best they can to save you. But if, there is a greater good at stake, they're not going to give an inmate what he wants to save your life. I mean, you sign your name saying, I understand that. But if the employer knows about something that is going wrong, so let's say they knew about an officer, let's say on the tier, that was selling drugs to inmates, doing something illegal that kind of compromises the safety of everyone else.
Sure.
And let's say the institution knew about that, but they didn't do anything about it. Now they're liable.
No, but some would say, though, the Weather Channel did do something about it. They did address the issue. And that's
Barely.
what their attorney is going to say.
There were no good luck with that, and maybe they'll get away with it. Maybe they'll win. I don't think they will. I think the Weather Channel is going to settle, and they're going to settle fast.
I think they need to settle. I think a precedent needs to be set for safety.
Agreed. It was their job. It was their job to ensure that they were following the traffic laws, because that is the law, and they didn't do that. They basically kind of mentioned it, and it ended up taking the lives of 3 people, all of whom worked for the Weather Channel when they knew about it. So do I think the Weather Channel is liable? Yes, I do.
A listener asked Dr. Cole, but isn't it a bit like taking a selfie with a lion? Doing that selfie, like the lady recently at the zoo, she knew the risks going into the enclosure. When you chase a storm, me being a former storm chaser, I know the risks when I go on the highway.
Yeah, I would agree if he had died due to the storm, but
Gotcha.
He didn't.
Okay. Well, thank you, listener, for chiming in. And
thank you. Yeah, he died due to their erratic driving. At first, when I heard that she was suing, though, like I saw the headline, listener, I thought the same thing. You know what I mean? I saw the headline that she was suing the Weather Channel and her son was a storm chaser, and I'm thinking to myself, that's not going to work out well.
Yeah, exactly.
Because he chose it. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. But moving along, Dr. Cole, where would you like to go next?
Yes, there was a man, okay,
there was a man.
A man. He's 56. We're talking about another slightly older gentleman.
Yep.
56-year-old South Carolina man was pulled over. I guess he was just kind of stopped, like a traffic stop, more of a routine traffic stop.
Sure.
I think he was driving a bit erratically, right? So they pulled him over, and he had forgotten his driver's license, he said.
Oh, no.
And he gave the officer the name Michael Jackson.
Yeah, that's going to work out for you.
Yeah.
Sorry, sir. Sorry, officer. I didn't mean to be speeding, but I'm late for my bleach appointment.
Exactly. And so the motorist aroused suspicion because the deputy noticed a, quote, foamy liquid on the floorboard of the vehicle, which he smelled and believed to be beer. So, yes. They
foamy liquid. I
right?
like that.
Foamy liquid. And so they took him into custody, right? And when they took him into custody, get this, irony of ironies, this man whose last name is actually Wright, Wright, has a warrant out for him due to molestation of children.
Oh, so he kind of was. I'm not going to say. I caught some flack. I caught some flack.
You can, you know what? Don't blame Joel. Do not blame Joel. It is
I
all
know.
me.
I'm saying because I
me.
said he was guilty, right?
Yeah,
And
so
and they punched me in the face, basically verbally saying he was never convicted by a jury of his peers. In fact, he was exonerated.
Okay, first of all, I want to swear so badly right now. Okay,
I know. I'm just backing up. I don't want to.
Universe. Yeah. Did you know that all people that commit rape are convicted of rape? Oh wait, that's right. Only 1% of people that are ever accused of rape are convicted.
Dr. Cole, I am absolutely on board with you. I'm absolutely on board with you. I really am.
No, send me the hate mail, people. Bring it in. I know the real statistics, and I also know what a sex offender against children looks like because I've been, I don't know, sitting in rooms with them doing therapy for the last 14 years.
Exactly. So in your opinion, Dr. Cole, Michael Jackson was what he was billed as. He was a predator of children.
It's not, honestly, it's not my opinion. It's all the pedophiles that I know's opinion. Yeah. And I'm not kidding. They say that. The pedophiles that know that they're pedophiles, I know they're pedophiles.
They know their own.
For pedophilia, look at me and say, I'll ask them. I've asked them before. I say, do you think Michael Jackson was a pedophile? And they laugh and go, he's the king of the pedophiles.
Yeah, they know their own. They know their own. Yeah,
of course they do. Yes, they do. They absolutely know their own. So when every pedophile is saying, hey, Jackson's a pedophile, I tend to believe them.
I agree. I agree.
Those grown men sleep in bed with little boys and take them on tour and separate them from their parents and alienate them from everyone they know and call them at night and send them faxes and buy them stuff and buy them off. And
allegedly.
Allegedly, my. You know what?
I'm just doing that to get under your skin now, Dr. Cole.
They have pictures, they have videos, they have letters, they have payoffs. Yeah, because somebody that's not guilty does all of that. And don't say, oh, they just go after famous people. You're right. They only go after famous people that sleep with little boys. So,
OJ was innocent, too. We all know that truth, too. But anyhow, this guy gets pulled over. And there's a frothy goodness, amber goodness on the floorboard. On the floorboard.
Spilled it, yeah.
And the police officer had to have gotten right down there, either tasted or smelled it. Maybe he knows. Maybe he says, I know that smell, and I love that smell. And he knew exactly what it was right away. Take him in, and they say, who are you? He says, well, I'm Michael Jackson. I'm the king of pop. And it turned out he was not at all. But he was not far off from being like Michael Jackson, minus the talent.
Well, minus and the looks, honestly. Like, this guy's not exactly a looker.
No, he does not look like Michael Jackson in any way, shape, or form. He looks about as much like Michael Jackson as I look like Michael Jackson.
Yeah, I agree. I'm like, he's about as far from Michael Jackson as you can get. And so, they arrested him and found out that he's wanted for crimes against children.
Well,
so I guess he's going to be
off the street.
Yeah, spending a little bit more time in jail than maybe he expected.
It's good he's off the street.
That's
all I'm saying. And now you can go to trial, and then they can work that all out. So.
Yes, I hope they do. And last but not least, now I think if you are going to be committing a crime, that you should try to disguise yourself, especially if you're going to do it. It's planned,
A good thief
malice aforethought.
Yes, a good thief would.
Right. And so there are two men that decided to do exactly that. They're like, you know what? We're going to commit a robbery, but I don't want people knowing who I am. I gotta cover this up because they probably have cameras. Everybody's got cameras. So in Baldwin, Maryland, the robbery suspect wore a unicorn costume.
Wow. All right. Just showed up in full costume, huh?
Yeah. No, full on unicorn.
Wow.
Yep. Not just mask, the whole thing. Yeah.
Wow. That is strange. Normally when you want to rob a place, I would assume, because I've never done so, you would want to be kind of on the inconspicuous side. You might not want to call attention to yourself, not right away. The unicorn.
But everybody loves unicorns.
Well, right? They do, and I know lots of people that love unicorns, and that's wonderful, and they're not real. But no, they're not. Not unless you get some super glue and a horse that wants to stand still a long time. That'd be
or you just huff the super glue. Then they might be real too.
I did that one time, putting together models when I was a kid. Boy,
Oh my gosh.
Was that a ride I'll never forget? I know.
Yeah.
When they say well-ventilated area, they're not joking. But yeah, that is a strange crime. Okay, now how did they catch the offending unicorn?
Yeah, said unicorn. So the police say that 28-year-old Jacob William Roge donned a pink and white, mind you, unicorn costume. And he smashed a convenience store register with a crowbar, and fled with cash and cigarettes, which honestly is not what I would think a unicorn would steal.
No, I always thought unicorns were more upstanding citizens than that.
Rainbows and Pop Rocks.
Right? Exactly. Like Skittles and Pop Rocks would be perfect.
Yeah, that is a strange case. But really quickly, there is some somewhat breaking news happening out of your home state of Wisconsin.
Oh no!
Yeah, the Wisconsin man accused of killing the teenage girl's parents. He has actually pled guilty, by the way.
Yes.
Okay, I just want to get that out there because a listener just hit me up going, "Hey, you guys get to talk about what's going on in Wisconsin." Yes,
Jamie
we will.
Kloss, yeah,
Yep,
he
Jake
pled
Thomas.
guilty. I knew he would. He had no choice. So.
Yep, yeah, he is pleading guilty. He's only 21 years old too, by the way. Just Jake Patterson. Talk about throwing away your life. He's going to plead guilty. I would imagine the evidence is just overwhelming. You know, he might have probably shot for second-degree murder, Dr. Cole. Is that why he would plead not guilty?
So that he can get second degree?
Yeah, that's why he would plead guilty. Gotcha, okay, because I was just kind of curious. Because anyhow, that is what's going on in Wisconsin. Hopefully this brings some closure to the family of this young lady, and that he will get the justice that he deserves. So we did mention it, by the way. So anyhow, getting back to unicorns and robbing shit. Oh, stuff. Excuse me.
Would you like to know how they got caught?
I would like to know how they got caught.
So the unicorn and his accomplice jumped into a car because, unicorns don't want to run away from the robbery. That's just undignified.
They gallop.
Yeah. So they got into a car, they crossed into oncoming traffic, crashed into mailboxes, a utility pole, shrubbery, and a boulder, which sent the car back across the road until it hit a tree.
Unicorn Planet.
Wow. Man.
Yeah. That's a rough landing after that for cigarettes and cash.
Maybe the guy was a big Deadpool fan.
Maybe. They were both hospitalized with serious injuries. So the unicorn
trying to make unicorns extinct.
Yeah.
Killing
he's
him.
still in the hospital, the unicorn.
What charge? Now he's going to be facing a lot of charges, I'm sure. And it would even be funnier if he showed up to court in the outfit, the unicorn.
I would laugh. I don't know that the judge would, but I would laugh. Yeah.
I'm sure some judges have a sense of humor.
I've yet to meet one.
Really? They're so angry is what you're saying. Angry people.
Well, no, they are very serious, They don't want to seem like they're not, taking it seriously. Normally, honestly, it's usually because there are victims there. And
True.
They don't want
to
act like it's.
But
it's
there
a light
are
thing.
some victimless crimes that do happen, and like someone acted stupid or disorderly or something, and I have seen it, where the judge, like one time I was waiting, I was there because I was getting a divorce, and before us was I was waiting, kicking around, waiting for my turn, and the door was kind of cracked open it was misdemeanor Monday or whatever, and this guy was in there for, I think, disorderly conduct or something, and the judge is like, "Well, why'd you do that?" He's like, "Because it was fun." The judge actually started laughing. I go, "Well, it might have been fun, but man, this is not the place you wanted to be." It was the only time I ever heard. My point is, they're humans too, and this judge actually busted out laughing. So, I would imagine they have their moments of levity just like police officers do.
That's true. I don't see it often, but it is, it would be great if
But
they
you
did,
only see murderers and crap. Yeah, I mean, you don't, there's victims involved and huge stakes, not the low level, like what were you thinking crimes,
The local, I guess county would it be? Judge for misdemeanors and whatnot. When we went there, and I won't discuss why, when I went with my daughter, he was in a very frivolous frame of mind, and he was joking around, and he joked around with her, and then the guy comes in who was charged with, I think, domestic assault, and did his demeanor change?
Oh yeah,
then.
I would imagine dealing.
He
with
was
that.
all Mr. Cheerful, chipper, and all right, yeah, you, we know why you're here. You were dumb. All right, okay, just do this, this, and this, and we'll get it off of your record. And I'm like, yes, thank you, good man, yay. And he's smiling, he's being all friendly. And then, like I said, after several cases like that, kind of most of them tied to the University there of Kent, because that's where this is, in the city of Kent. And we were coming from not too far away. But, yeah, then this pretty serious, it sounded like domestic assault. And, his tone changed. And just the whole room, the atmosphere changed notably. So my guess is, I mean, it's just anecdotal, of course, but like anything else, it's situational. And if the crimes, quote unquote, aren't particularly serious, then perhaps they feel free to be a little bit lighter. Although part of it too is to put the fear of God into these kids coming through, obviously. But beyond that, but when it's serious or people are getting hurt, then that's when it's time to show how serious they are. So I imagine Clarissa being on the much heavier end of it. That's the kind of judges you're seeing in those kinds of cases.
As they should be very serious. Those judges should be serious in those. I wouldn't expect any less.
Yeah, they almost always are. And if there's any sort of, even if like people in the gallery are talking, they usually they'll eject people and just to keep the proceedings as calm as possible, because there's a lot of emotion.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to be a bailiff either. A friend of mine's a bailiff, and that's not fun either.
No, it's a rough job.
Yeah, that's what I've heard. It's not a fun job at all. But I would like to be the person that knows how to type really fast. That's always intrigued me. How they're so fast.
Oh, the stenographer. They're not typing. They're using a stenography machine.
What the hell does that thing do?
It has symbols. They use symbols.
So they go super fast.
Yeah.
Oh.
It's a machine that has symbols instead
of
letters.
400 words a minute. It's unbelievable. I had a friend who wanted to become a court reporter kind of later in life, probably in his 40s, and man, he took that test and he took that test and he took that test and he took that test, and he never passed. He said it was so freaking hard. And part of it's age, if you start younger, it's going to be easier. Yeah. But I mean, it is very demanding.
So it's all emojis?
Kind of, yeah. And I think it might equate to sounds. I'm not exactly sure, but they get each and every single word. They get every 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 pause, it is all in there. When it's a court transcript, it is expected to be absolutely exacting, and it is.
I would imagine it will be a funny court transcript when the farting man hits court.
It will be, yes. That would be a fun day.
That pays well, too.
I would
it's
imagine.
Very hard. It's very demanding.
They always look so. They never crack a smile. Everyone I've ever met that does that, they're all so very serious.
Well, I would think they can't, because there's always someone talking in court, like a lawyer, a victim, a criminal, a judge, and you have to get every, not just word, but every pause, everything. You're expected to put that in there. Yeah.
Damn, I cannot do that.
Long pause.
I have a new respect for those typewriters people there. They're in the court reporters. They're so fast with their emojis and whatnots. But I suppose we should get out of here. When we come back, we're going to be taking a left turn into kind of a very sad tale, and that is the Chris Watts murders. And don't go anywhere. It's a hard one. For me especially, I know for Eric too, being a father. It's a very, very hard tale to sit through. So we'll be right back right after this.
Hi, Tom Bodette. If you can hear me, then you have an internet connection, which means you can do cool things online, like listen to streaming radio, obviously, or watch a video of a monkey washing a cat. Let your freak flag fly. Or you can book a room at a great price at motel6.com. Isn't the internet wonderful? Everything you want right at your fingertips, and whoa, did not need to see that. I'm Tom Bodette for Motel 6, and we'll leave the light on for you.
Unexpected reactions to smart financial decisions brought to you by feedthepig.org.
Well, I finally did it. My student loan is totally paid off.
I can't believe it.
I can't believe it either. I paid more than the minimum each month, and soon enough, it was gone.
So you're just giving up?
Giving up on what?
The life of luxury. Egyptian cotton, caviar Thursdays, designer everything.
What are you talking about?
Our plan. What happened to winning the lottery and mastering the art of the perfect mimosa? Hosting galas, wearing enough jewelry to require a bodyguard, vacationing in the French Riviera, and then buying it.
I just thought maybe it was time to prepare for my future. You know, set some financial goals, make some smart investments, open a 401k.
Financial goals? Investments? A 401k? You are horrifying right now. Listen, if winning the lottery were easy, everyone would do it.
When it comes to financial stability, don't get left behind. Get tools and tips for saving at feedthepig.org. This message brought to you by the American Institute of CPAs and the Ad Council.
Northern Tool and Equipment.
So me and the boys head out to tailgate today and find some other fans in our spot.
Well, it happens.
Cheering for the wrong team.
Oh, this is war.
Even worse, they've got this couch set up and everything.
A couch?
Yeah, it's sectional.
All right, first thing, don't ever use the word sectional again.
Done.
Second, I want you to grab a 4,700-pound tow chain with J-hook and grab hammer. Throw that on the back of your truck.
Got it.
Now you're going to Hail Mary the J-hook over the end of that couch. Time to find a better spot for your new friends.
That should do it.
There's no problem a little horsepower can't solve. Northern Tool and Equipment.
Taking a family of 5 to the amusement park can cost a small fortune.
Oh, yeah. So to save some money, we thought, hey, let's bring the amusement park to us.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
All right. Step right up, young man. Are you ready to ride the wacky waterfall?
That's just the bathtub with the shower head running.
Nope, it's the wacky waterfall.
It's the shower, Dad.
Waterfall.
Wacky.
There's an easier way to save. To get a free rate quote, go to geico.com. Then buy online, over the phone, or at your local Geico office.
Green light. Hey, girl. School zone. I'm getting hungry. Car changing lanes. You want to meet me for pizza? Stop sign. Intersection clear. Yeah, street. Pizza sounds good. Ballin Street? Girlin Street!
It's hard to concentrate on 2 things at once, like texting and driving. Stop the text, stop the wrecks. How will you stop texting and driving? Tell us at stoptextstopwrecks.org. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
And welcome back to this edition of After Hours AM, the Criminal Code, everybody. I'm your host, Joel Sturgis. Right along with me,
Eric Olsen and
Dr. Clarissa Cole.
You made us nervous there for a minute. Now, I forgot to mention this because, man, for some reason I'm off my game. But the last hour's headlines are brought to you by thecriminalcode.com. Thecriminalcode.com is just about the internet's top true crime website anywhere. And it's the only website that I am aware of that goes so in-depth where you can actually not only read about these cases, but also get the doctor's notes to go with them. It's truly a unique experience visiting thecriminalcode.com. So I also want you guys, if you are able to, open your browsers and go on over to that very website, thecriminalcode.com, and follow along with tonight's show. And then after you've done that, I need you to also visit, if you would do so, America's-Most-Haunted.com, which will also have a companion article and also have this show in its MP3 form and live. You can always listen live there as well, but MP3 form after the fact. And listen again if you want to hear this again. I strongly encourage you to go check out the most amazing website dealing with true crime and the paranormal, and that's America's-Most-Haunted.com. Okay.
Well said, young man.
All right. Well, thank you.
With the cleared arteries.
I know. I'm feeling good. I'm feeling good.
They're like fire hoses.
They are. They really are huge. Yeah. They're huge.
They're massive and free-flowing.
Massive. Okay. So this is going to be a very hard show, I know, for Eric and myself. We're both fathers, and this case, I don't know why this one of all of them, Dr. Cole, just pisses me off, but it does.
Well, it's current for one thing.
It's current, and yeah, I am actually very angry that this person is not dead, but that's not for me to decide. But I will step aside and let you guys take it from here.
Well, I have a bit of an intro when we're working with Clarissa to analyze one of her amazing cases. There's not a whole lot that I have to do, but I would like to set it up for you. While the press often sees a horrific event like the recent murder by Colorado husband and father Chris Watts of his wife Shannon and young daughters Celeste and Bella as an inexplicable snap, there is always more going on behind the public scene. Dr. Clarissa Cole presents the Watts case and analyzes what led to this heinous family annihilation, actually, is what it was. And just to drop into the article a little bit, I'm actually kind of going right into the middle of it just to get a little bit of a taste of what you will find when you go there before I turn it over to Clarissa. While it's unknown exactly when the countdown clock started in the Chris Watts case, found guilty of murdering his wife Shannon and daughters Celeste and Bella, it's probable that it began ticking with the announcement of Shannon's new pregnancy on June 11th. Was that just last year? Or was that?
Yes, it was this last year. Yeah.
Well, that went quick. The case was quick. The video that she took of her announcement to him certainly catches him by surprise. And though he says, "That's awesome," a number of times, he does so without much enthusiasm. He also picks up the pregnancy test and says, "So pink means," as though he's wondering if the test might be incorrect or hoping that it was. This is played off as a joke about having another female child. Just 3 days later, on June 14th, Watts enters Nicole Kessinger's contact information into his personal phone. And I love that you picked up on that as a very significant event. With having said that, I will turn the tale over to Dr. Clarissa Cole.
Yeah, thank you. It's interesting. I wanted to talk about this case mostly just because there was so much hubbub about it online, and there are websites dedicated to and for and against Chris Watts. And I had a reader of my website write in, and I figured that instead of just sort of writing back a response to this person, it would be better to just write a whole post about it. And the person asked me, they said, based on what they had read, other things that they had read, family annihilators don't just snap like a lot of people think they do. But they didn't understand how, things led up to that. So like they were trying to buy into the fact that they don't just snap. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like the media always puts out there, always, it drives me crazy, this idea that, why did Chris Watts snap? And I'm like, he didn't. But when you're a lay person and you don't study this, and there aren't a lot of studies on family annihilators, actually. There's only one large study out of the UK that's been done for the last 30 years. Great study, but it's one of the only ones of its kind. So we used to think that. We used to think that they just snapped one day, but that's not at all what happens. Usually these murders, no matter how they go down, are premeditated in one way or another for a very long period of time. And in Chris Watts' case, that's kind of what I wanted to lay out for people, is there's usually a stressor that starts that countdown clock ticking. And a psychologist's job, a forensic psychologist, whether the perpetrator still be alive, and in Chris Watts' case he was, so it was easier to piece together. But most of the time, family annihilators also commit suicide or they disappear, so we don't know that. So our job is to find out what started that clock. What life event pushed them to the point where they started wishing they didn't have a family anymore? And in Chris Watts' case, I'm almost certain that it was the announcement of the pregnancy of his wife Shannon, because he was not expecting it, very clearly. This was a surprise pregnancy. I don't believe they talked about it. I don't believe it was agreed that they thought she was going to get pregnant again. This was like, she got pregnant, she's all excited about it. He walks in the house, and if you guys, it's out there. If you see the clip of him getting the news that she's pregnant, Eric, you said that's awesome. with so much more enthusiasm than he did.
That's awesome.
And you were just reading an intro.
Awesome.
Yeah. No, it's literally said not in a deadpan way, but it's like you can hear, I can anyway, the fakeness in it. There's this, that's awesome.
Well,
that's awesome.
Some fathers would be like, "Oh, that's awesome! Another mouth to feed, wonderful." But they deal with it and they love the children, and it's usually the circumstance of the finances that would make the usually guys go, "Oh no, not another one." But ultimately, you love them; they're your kids. You know what I mean?
Right, and I think that's probably what maybe she was cluing into, is that this idea that he was just overwhelmed. So he didn't react with overt happiness. I mean, he did. He was smiling, but it's a very nervous smile, and it's very tentative. And like I said, he picks up the pregnancy. She hands him the pregnancy test, and he looks at it and he says, and the pink means, as though he's hoping that the pink doesn't actually mean that she's pregnant. Like that's how it came across.
Really quick question, and not that I'm advocating for this in any way. I don't want to draw these kind of lines, in this kind of battle. But why didn't he just suggest to her abortion?
We'll get to that
instead of.
No, that's on the table, Joel. We'll get to it.
Okay.
Yeah, that is part of this. That is definitely part of this equation. Okay, so he knows what her expectation is at this point, and if it's somebody that you love, and they're super, like, she had a T-shirt made. She's wearing a T-shirt that she had made.
Mommy plus one. Yeah.
It says, "Oops, we did it again." And when he first sees the T-shirt, he just thinks it's a cute T-shirt. And he says, "Hey, I like your T-shirt." And she's like, "I have something to tell you." You can tell it's just, he does not expect it. He's totally overwhelmed. He says, "That's awesome." You can tell he doesn't really mean it. So that, to me, is when the clock officially started to tick on Chris Watts. The bomb is going to go off. It's starting to tick. And that's what I guess that's what I'm trying to say, is that as we go through this case, I think that you'll see that there are multiple times that this bomb could have been diffused and it wasn't.
So what
just the wrong thing.
Who was he pre this? What was he pre all this? This guy?
A construction worker. Mostly he worked at an oil refinery. I don't think it was a super high up type job. It wasn't low level labor either, something in between. I don't exactly know. She also had a job that I think was more administrative. So they had money, but they certainly weren't rolling in it.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So finances were definitely a concern for them. And I know that was part of his thought process as well, which was like, oh, wow, we're kind of living above our means now. That's sort of terrifying. And that's definitely coming across from him. And so that starts the clock ticking. This is on June 11th. 3 days later, a girl named Nicole Kessinger, her information gets entered into Chris Watts' personal phone. This is really significant.
Okay.
She'd started working at the same place that Chris Watts works. So he's a coworker, right? And I don't know if this relationship had crossed a line before that. My guess is that it was obviously sort of a flirtatious relationship, if nothing else, before that. But maybe it didn't really mean anything. Maybe it was just one of those sort of like office flirtations where nothing is ever going to happen. It's just one of those flirtatious friendships. But 3 days after Shannon's pregnancy announcement, her information gets entered into his phone. So right off the bat, I know the clock started ticking before that, because he's looking for a way out. That's what this means.
Okay.
Of his life.
Would you say that he was having an affair?
I would say that he was probably thinking about Kessinger in a sexual way, but it may have been benign before that.
Mm-hmm.
And as soon as that pregnancy announcement hit, all of a sudden it was like, yep, I'm having an affair.
Gotcha.
Because of the stress of it.
Well,
yes, because everyone knows affairs cause you to reduce your stress level.
Yeah, right?
Yes,
the constant hiding and lying and covering tracks. No, that's not stressful at all.
Yes, and he told Kessinger that he was married, that he had kids, but that he was separated from his wife and that they were pursuing a divorce. So he tells Kessinger this on the 17th, which happened to also be Father's Day. And while Shannon is busy posting a tribute to him on Facebook and what a great father he is.
Oh, man.
Dang.
Yeah, so
That's
he's trying to
cold,
ramp.
man.
Yeah, it's very cold. He's trying to ramp up his relationship with Nicole, where Shannon is trying to get like closer to him. And so 10 days, and this is the strange. I don't know why, but this is the strangest thing to me. So 10 days later, on June 27th, Shannon decides to take a 5-week trip.
Dang.
5 weeks without Chris, because he had to stay and work. And I'm thinking 5 weeks, and you just announced something really stressful to the guy. You know he's not responding to it very well, but you're going to go on vacation for 5 weeks. There's nothing wrong with it. I'm not victim blaming. I want to make that very clear.
Well,
I'm talking about this from the perspective of Chris Watts, not her. Do you know what I mean?
Okay. Now, from a guy, okay, you hear this huge. I'm not defending him at all. So before I
trying to get
loathe
into
the
his
man.
head.
I really do loathe this individual. Okay. He gets this huge this bombshell dropped him. You know, when I found out that we were going to have my youngest son, we weren't really planning to expand our family, and my wife actually had to go have what they call umbilic hernia surgery.
Oh, sure.
And it was painful, and we went in, okay, honey, let's get this done with. And I was holding her hand, the surgeon comes in, and they came into the room, and they said, hey, is there any chance you could be pregnant? And Jen goes, you must have the wrong pee. No, well, let's do it again. Nope, they come back. Yeah, guess what? You guys are pregnant. That's how I found out our son was coming to this world.
Wow.
I mean, but I took it in stride. We were both shocked. We were not planning really to expand. I mean, obviously precautions were not being taken in our marriage, but hey, it is what it is. You pay, you play. Yeah, you play, you pay, rather. But we were not like, oh my God, this is horrible. I mean, we were both in shock, and it was hard to digest, but we got over it. And now he's 3, and we love him, and he is important. Okay, now this guy gets this dropped in his lap, right?
I was going to say, though, Joel, that's the sign of a marriage where the two of you are connected, and you have a connected, strong relationship, right?
Yeah.
But with Chris Watts, clearly I don't think they were that close. They weren't on the same page. I don't think they've been on the same page for a while. What's notable about this is that clearly Shannon, his wife, is completely oblivious to this. Like me watching the video of him getting the news, I'm thinking, wow, he's upset right now. Turn the camera off and talk to him.
Yeah.
But she is so in her own little world that she can't see it. And I can see it, and I'm a stranger.
Yeah.
And this wasn't hindsight. I would have seen it in the moment. I'm sorry. It's just true. I could tell he wasn't excited. And that's a talk you need to have. And she was not wanting to do that. So she is excited about having a kid. That's all there is to it. He needs to be excited too. And I want to put that out there, that in family annihilation cases, it's not always the case that the woman is inflexible. It's that the man sees the woman as inflexible. So I want to put that out there.
Because he's a narcissist.
Because he's a narcissist. But I also want to say there are family annihilation cases where the woman is inflexible. And as we're going through this, again, very, very sure that people know this. I am not victim blaming, but I think that you will see that there are multiple times that he tried to get Shannon to see his point of view, and she was not flexible.
Perhaps he didn't like her name, which is silly.
Who names their kid with an apostrophe?
I'm
sorry.
I don't know.
In America.
Yeah. So
there is an apostrophe. I'm getting text from somebody that's saying it's spelled Shannon. I'm like, no, it's spelled Shan apostrophe Ann.
Yeah.
That's weird.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Name.
So anyway, I'm getting so he's upset about this, and then after he's busy being upset, she promptly goes on a vacation for 5 weeks to visit her family.
5 weeks? Who goes away for 5 weeks? You know, here's the thing though. Okay, again, not to defend this guy, but from a guy's perspective, of a guy that went through a fairly similar thing with a atom bomb being dropped in his lap. He has this atom bomb dropped in his lap, and we're having another baby. And she's elated over the moon. He's like, oh, I'm not so sure. Kind of that apprehensive, unwilling kind of moment of curious, more worried about finances. Okay. Instead of being sympathetic to his needs, again, not blaming her.
No, but we have to be realistic about
but not being sympathetic to his needs at that moment. She did not lessen his resolve at that point. Then she sealed in some ways in his mind. I'm not saying this is what happened, but she sealed that in his, like, she doesn't care. She's leaving now for 5 weeks and I have to work and I have to think about this for 5 weeks without having her around to resolve this issue or at least talk it out together. She's gone. She's checked out. There's no one to turn to.
And she keeps expecting him. So, like, instead of just because otherwise I'm going to have to keep disclaiming through the entire rest of the show. So I'm not going to do that. Just take it for granted that when I say things about the victim, I'm not victim blaming. I am trying to come at this from Chris Watts' point of view. So it's going to be skewed. Okay. And I think you're exactly right, Joel, that he was seeing it as that, wow, she's elated, doesn't want to talk to me about it, and just expects me to get elated with her. Yeah. And then she takes the kids and goes away for 5 weeks. So that's how Chris Watts is probably seeing it. So she leaves, and it not as soon as she leaves, but, maybe like a week after that, he has his first serious dates with Nicole.
But she left him alone for 5 weeks.
No, I agree. I agree with you. So he has his dates with Nicole, and he goes so far as to actually invite Nicole over to the marital house. So,
oh no,
it's not just but this is what I want to get across is that it's not just a cold action on his part. He is trying this life on. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like a costume.
Yeah.
Because he's not telling her that Shanann and the kids are dead, that they're never coming back. He's telling her that they're separated. This is my wife. These are my kids. And this is me living in the house alone. And he's having his girlfriend over. He's trying it on. He's trying to escape the stress of this life. And so that to me is what that means. He invites Nicole over. They go on a trip, like a short camping trip. They go to a car show. And this whole time, Shanann is trying to call him and text him. And she's expecting him to answer her within a certain amount of time. And she's also expecting him to start to be excited about the new baby. And when that is not happening, this is upsetting Shanann more and more. So she's texting him things like, where is my husband? Why are you not, like, why do I have to dig information out of you? So it's taking on a very blaming tone, which again is not helping the situation. So again, I'm trying to help the listeners understand how he may have gotten to this place. None of it is rational, clearly, but she's not helping the situation. Let's put it that way. So by July 10th, the strain is really becoming apparent, and she texts him about how it seems like he doesn't want to talk to her. And at this point, his relationship with Nicole is going pretty quickly and is deepening. And they go on trips together. She's sending him sexy photos. And the last week, going into August, he is supposed to meet Shanann and the kids on vacation.
Oh.
So, yeah. So he's been alone this whole time, right?
With his girlfriend.
And trying on a new life.
Yep.
And all of a sudden now he has to go back to be with Shanann and the kids, with her parents, and then with his parents. So he goes out there, and kind of predictably, this goes pretty disastrously. He gets out there, and right away. So she doesn't give him a lot of time to settle in. Let's put it that way. As soon as he gets there, and I only know this because she sent texts to her girlfriends that have been made public. He gets there, and the same night that he gets there, she immediately tries to initiate sexual contact with him, even though they have not been close and they're kind of at odds.
Yeah.
Her way of trying to cement the relationship is to try to initiate sex with him immediately when he gets there. He does not want to. He's frustrated. He doesn't really want how this is going. And so he refuses, which makes her even angrier. And when they go to visit his parents, apparently his mother just gave their daughter Celeste something with nuts in it, which Celeste was allergic to.
Oh.
Yes.
Wow, Grandma should have known that, though. I mean, in my opinion.
No, and Grandma does know that, right? Grandma does know that, and apparently Grandma has maybe not been the best grandmother. I don't know, but this sends and apparently Chris didn't address the situation to Shannon's approval, and she accuses him of taking his parents' side. I don't really know if he did. We don't know, and not protecting his daughter, and she accuses her mother, his mother, of doing it on purpose. And basically accuses him of being a bad husband and says, you have to choose between your parents and us.
Oh, that never works.
I know.
That never works.
That's a really bad idea.
That's
extremely
horrible.
bad. Like, if you want to get closer to somebody, by the way, don't ever do that. I don't care if the parents are serial killers. Just pretend to like them, okay?
Yeah.
You could do it for 1 week a year, even if they give your kid nuts. She didn't even need medical care. She was fine.
Yeah. The whole choose them or me when it comes to mom and dad. That does not work, generally speaking. Wow. That's
right.
pretty...
And she sends him a string of texts, which again have all become public since that time, and they are scathing. They're absolutely scathing texts. And remember, they're in the same house. So while they're together, presumably, like maybe at the dinner table with his parents, Shannon is sending him scathing text messages about how essentially you're a bad father. So, do you know what I mean?
Worded letters.
Very, very strongly worded. And do I think that maybe those letters were justified? I don't know. Maybe they were. Maybe his mother is a full-blown sociopath trying to kill their daughter. I don't know, but it just wasn't the best idea.
It speaks to the very least a real breakdown of communication.
Yes.
And maybe even a real lack of respect for each other's spouses.
Absolutely agree. Like, clearly the parents didn't respect Shannon and she did not respect them. And so Chris Watts said after the fact that when Shannon sent him these text messages, it brought him back to thinking about the very beginning of their relationship before they got married. And he said that that's when the rift between Shannon and his parents started, and that he always felt that it was Shannon's fault because his parents had gotten along with everybody else he'd ever been with. And that from the very beginning, Shannon had sort of said, you must choose between them or I. And so it just brought him back to that, which soured him even more against her. And he's having an affair. He already is souring against her. So
yeah, he's already planning to leave the marriage.
Right.
Obviously.
Right.
So he's just looking for a good exit strategy.
May I interject?
Of course.
All right. So all this that you're setting up, boy, oh boy, was it probably time for them to get a divorce.
Yes.
Why did he have to frickin' kill him?
Exactly. But maybe we'll talk about that after the break. We'll be right back right after this. We're going to go deeper into the Chris Watts case and what transpired, what unraveled, what made this family annihilator plan and carry out the murder of his own family. Be right back right after this.
Northern Tool and Equipment.
So Daddy's little girl thinks she's going to prom tonight with some punk who calls himself Snake.
Yeah, they grow up so fast.
Well, not if I can help it, they don't.
Okay, here's what you do. When that kid shows up, Dad's going to be doing a few chores around the house.
Huh?
It doesn't matter the chore. What's important is that it requires the use of a 60cc gas-powered chainsaw and possibly a mask.
I think it's showtime.
He's here. Dad, I want you to meet...
All right, let her rip.
What's that, honey?
Hi, Snake. Great to meet you.
But wait, where are you going? There's No problem. A little horsepower can't solve. Northern Tool and Equipment.
Ranger Station, Ranger speaking.
Yeah, hi. I'd like to report a bear sighting.
Location.
My backyard.
Oh, your backyard.
Try telling a bear that.
I did, and this bear talked back.
Talking bear, that's rich.
No, wait, it was Smokey Bear.
Smokey.
Why didn't you say so?
I did say so.
Continue.
I was burning yard waste.
No, boy.
He told me to burn legally and responsibly, and to remember that if it's too hot to touch, it's too hot to leave.
And as always, he's right. You know, 9 out of 10 wildfires are caused by humans. That means 9 out of 10 wildfires can be prevented.
Yeah, I know that now.
Thanks to me.
Actually, thanks to Smokey.
As usual, the talking bear gets all the credit. Get your Smokey on. Always burn responsibly and contact your local fire department for open burning regulations. Because 9 out of 10 wildfires can be prevented. Brought to you by Smokey Bear, the U.S. Forest Service, your state forester, and the Ad Council. Learn more at smokeybear.com.
Only you can prevent wildfires.
And welcome back to After Hours AM, the Criminal Code. I'm your host, Joel Sturgis. Right along with me,
Eric Olsen and
Dr. Clarissa Cole.
Now, when we were leaving, we were talking about the Chris Watts case and what led up to the, of course, the him killing his family. But Dr. Cole was really discussing what led up to, because there's a lot of questions of how the family annihilators generally work. I mean, is it a flashpoint or is it a long, drawn-out plan? And it would seem, according to Dr. Cole, it is, of course, a lot more often than not, a long, drawn-out plan. And here we are with Chris Watts. He got news his wife's pregnant, didn't want the pregnancy to happen, not exactly loving the wife at this moment, takes up an affair with a coworker, has family issues with extended family, and finds himself, some would say, painted into a marital corner where he doesn't feel like there's any way out. But that's what other people have said. Okay, that's it in a nutshell. What happens after all that?
But there's always a way out.
Always. It's called divorce.
Yes.
You just go to court. You file it up. You file the paperwork. Say, hey, I'm. You know what? Just no more. You know.
Yeah, and I think that with these self-righteous family annihilators, he falls into that category. There's 4 categories. He's in the self-righteous category, and I think with a lot of these guys that have a bit more narcissism, I actually think it's kind of an odd combination of both a very slow burn and also kind of a snap. So in like John List, he planned it. He called the kids out of school. He knew exactly what weapon he was going to use, all that sort of thing. Like he overtly premeditated it.
Yes.
In Chris Watts' case, I don't think that he did at all. I do think that it was a slow burn kind of combined with what happened in the end. But we're not there yet. So on August 7th, right, so they're still on this vacation, right, Shanann starts texting her friends, and that's another thing. Like she's texting her friends about some really personal stuff. I mean, it's not that people don't, but about her marriage.
You shouldn't.
Yeah, it's a little weird. I agree. She texts her friends, multiple friends, that Chris had a conversation with her, that he told her that he was, quote, scared about a third pregnancy, and that he was, quote, happy with just Celeste and Bella. So, Joel, you brought up the idea of abortion. So did Chris. And it's very early in the pregnancy still. It's still well within the time frame that she could do that if she wanted to. But at this point, Shanann was in the process of planning a huge gender reveal party. And she became very angry at Chris.
So kind of her identity got wrapped up in this pregnancy as well.
Oh, absolutely. And she was wrapped up from the beginning. Like I said, she had a custom T-shirt made. She uploaded a video to Facebook that wasn't exactly the most flattering video for either one of them. You can see they're not connected to each other. And then she starts complaining when he's telling her in no uncertain terms that I'm scared of a third pregnancy. I'm happy with just you and Celeste and Bella. And she's like, I'm planning a gender reveal party. What are you talking about?
Yeah. Yeah.
So she's not listening to him at all. She's on her own path. She's on her own track, and so her friends, God love them, are giving her the worst possible advice. You know what? I'll say that. I don't care if they do hear this. You were giving her the worst possible advice. Instead of listening to what was happening, you were saying, "Oh, he'll be excited when the baby comes. Don't worry." Really?
Wow, that is kind of some bad advice right there.
Horrible advice. And they keep saying, when he meets the baby, he'll be so excited. He'll be so happy. Don't worry. Don't worry. Everything will be fine when the baby comes. And honestly, statistics show that that's not actually true.
Babies don't fix everything. You'll never save a marriage by having a baby.
No, and people that express often, especially the father, when he expresses that he doesn't want the child, guess what? The child showing up doesn't change his mind. So that's what statistics tell us. So
people need to be engaged. Yeah, they need to be part of the process and feel a part of the process.
And her friend even said, well, maybe he's just upset because he thinks it's going to be another girl. If it's a boy, you'll be fine.
I don't think that had much to do with it.
No, it had nothing to do with it. The worst possible advice ever. So she's waiting to get this ultrasound, right? Because she's kind of stuck on, she wants it to be a boy. So on August 9th, or right before August 9th, she goes to get an ultrasound, and guess what? It is a boy. It is not another girl. And when she goes to have this ultrasound, Chris is with her. She's really excited because it's going to be a boy, but Chris is not even holding her hand back, and he won't.
That's saying something.
He's gone. He's disengaged. And so she thinks that it being a boy is going to solve everything. She squeezes his hand, and he doesn't squeeze her hand back. So she texts her friends about this as well. So they get back from the trip with family, and then right after this trip, apparently, Shanann had to go on a business trip right away.
Oh, yeah, another 5 weeks. Yeah.
Yeah, so August 9th, they all get home right before that, and then on August 9th, she travels to Arizona for a business trip, and he hires a babysitter and goes out with his girlfriend.
Oh my God.
Well, at least he got a babysitter.
Well, that's true. At least he did that, I guess.
But, I mean, if that gives you sort of an indication of where his mind is still at, it's not to mistreat the children. Mm-hmm. It's to move on with his life, to go out with his girlfriend and have the kids taken care of. So he's not at this point thinking murderous thoughts, because nothing is really indicating that. And he's still talking to Nicole, the kid, about the kids, and that he has to get home at a certain time.
Yeah, he was willing then to include the children in his new life.
Exactly.
That was not an issue.
And Nicole was actually excited about it too. Nicole was saying that she was excited about him having girls. So he was including everyone. It was Shanann that was sort of the fly in this ointment for him. And while Shanann is on this business trip, she writes a handwritten letter to Chris, this is kind of inexplicable. I don't know what was going through her mind, but she took a photograph of this letter. I don't know if she uploaded it to social media or what, but she took a picture of this handwritten letter, and she says in this letter, it gives us an insight into another conversation they must have had, because she talks about missing him, loving him, and she doesn't know how they, quote, fell out of compatibility with each other, like he said. So he told her that. He told her, 1, I don't want the baby. 2, I'm happy with just Celeste and Bella. 3, we have fallen out of compatibility with each other. I'm not. He's telling her this is over, right?
Yeah. He's saying, hey, we're done. Right. Let's move on. Let's get these wheels in motion to separate.
And I think at this point, he is desperate to have her say, you know what, you're right. This isn't working, and then move on with his life. And do I think that that's what would have happened? I would bet all my money on it. I absolutely think that's what would have happened. I do not think that the family annihilation would have occurred had she said, okay.
But how do we jump from, gosh, hopefully she wants to break it off. Maybe if I push her hard enough, she'll just admit that, we're over, and maybe she'll come to terms of that, and we can start, I can start my new life, and she can go her way. But that's a really damn far cry from killing.
Well, the content of the letter was that she doubled down. So she said, I don't agree with you. that we've fallen out of compatibility. I think we're fine. And the only thing that's changed in the past 5 weeks is that I had this big fight with your parents. And by the way, you still owe me an apology for that.
Not only a kick to the balls, but a slap to the face.
Yeah, gotcha. No, it really, the letter starts out with, I miss you so much. I love you so much. We haven't fallen out of compatibility. Oh, and by the way, you still owe me an apology for Celeste. You're still a bad father.
So he's married to the world's biggest bitch. Okay, so
I know it was a horrible letter. She sent copies of it to her friends, and then the day before she comes home, she sends her friends another text message with a copy of a quote speech she plans to give Chris right when she gets home.
Okay, yeah. There's a reason why we get divorces, and obviously it's because we fall out of compatibility. People do. So this is not out of the ordinary. Again, though, it goes from them fighting, them obviously heading to divorce court, at least in his mind, to murder, though. So at what juncture does the murder come into mind, do you think?
Okay, so he's very stressed out. She has sent him this letter. She is now coming home from the business trip. She comes home at exactly 1:48 a.m. on August 13th because the security cameras of a neighbor's house catch her coming home, right, in those early morning hours. And she returns from her business trip. She goes in the house, walks inside, gets ready for bed, and as soon as she gets into bed, she wakes Chris up to initiate another sexual encounter.
Wow, she's like a horn dog.
Well, no, she wants to make sure that they're still connected.
Yeah,
and
make it nice and thinking,
make it nice. Once we have sex, everything will be fine. Yeah. And again, he wants away from her. And she is, again, pushing. You want this. You want this. You want this. And he doesn't want this. She initiates another sexual encounter. It seems like they do have sex. And sometime after that, the speech happens, and she accuses him of cheating, which he was. So I mean, it's not.
Yeah, guilty as charged on that one.
Guilty as charged, but she gives him the speech, and accuses him of cheating right after trying to connect with him in a physical way. So again, it's this: I love you. Oh, and by the way, you're a terrible person.
Red light, green light. Red light, green light. Yeah. Which one are we gonna go with here? Yeah, I get it.
And at that, right, and at that point, after a constant, again, this is from Chris Watts' perspective. Please remember that, audience. I am not trying to say that this is justified. It was not. Nothing justifies this. But from his perspective, for the last 5 weeks, since she totally sprung on him with a video camera that she was pregnant, it has been a constant onslaught of, you don't love me enough. You don't love the kids enough. You're a bad father. You're going to be a bad father. You have to connect with this kid. Oh my God, you're having an affair. It's a constant.
Damn.
So that
it's like a ball being hammered to the head
several times.
That's just why I'm trying
steadily,
to,
never hard, just
like Chinese torture.
And of course, I'm sure he has to answer. Like, there's other stuff that we don't know, right? I'm sure he has to answer to his parents, who are probably calling him, going, "We didn't mean to offend you. We're so sorry. Like, can we patch things up?" So like, there's all these things, and and we do know this, that his girlfriend Nicole is like, well, because she doesn't know that they're still kind of together, right? So now the girlfriend Nicole is calling him, going, "Why can't you call me back? What's going on?" So he's got pressure from his own design, pressure from all sides. And when Shanann wakes up the next morning after essentially forcing him to be physically close to her and says, "You're having an affair," he does lose it, and he strangles her.
Oh.
And do I think that was planned? No, of course I don't. I in no way think that Chris Watts. Do I think he imagined her dead? I'll be honest. Yes, I think he did. I think he imagined it a lot. Do I think that he meant to kill her though? No, I don't. I think that it was this buildup of a 5-week onslaught of pressure that he didn't want. That he multiple times tried to tell her, "We're not compatible. I don't want this child. Please stop." And she wouldn't.
But I get it. In some, just a kaboom at that moment strangles her to death. But why the children? Why?
Okay, so this is where the narcissism comes in, right? So he kills Shanann. I don't think it was planned. Soon after he strangles her, one of their daughters walks into their bedroom because they have to get ready for school or whatnot. The daughter wakes up. sees that Shannon is unresponsive, and says, "What happened to mommy?" And at this point, I think he's panicking, right? There's just panic. What do you do? He had wrapped Shannon's body in a sheet. He took Shannon out to his truck and put her body in the sheet in the truck and put the kids in the truck. Do I think that at that point he knew he was going to kill the children? I don't know. I don't think he did. He strapped them into their car seats like he normally would. I think that he knew that he couldn't leave the kids home alone. I have to take care of this. No, really, because at that point you're thinking second to second. You're not planning anymore. And he took Shannon to the place where he works because he knows it well. It's very industrial. He buries Shannon in a shallow grave in the sheet. And his kids at this point are seeing this and, of course, are becoming extremely...
Oh, my God. They were alive to watch their mother be buried?
Yes.
Are you flipping kidding me?
No, he's mentioned multiple times they were still alive.
Oh, my God. I didn't know that.
And then he takes... I think he killed the youngest one first. I can't remember, so I apologize. He suffocated both of his children at that point and shoved their bodies into oil drums. And now this is, I know that no one can understand this. First of all, I love when people, because I feel the same way. I've said it myself, but like people are like, I can understand why he killed the wife, but why the kids? It's like, dude, you shouldn't be able to understand why he killed the wife.
No,
either.
I don't understand why he did that at all.
Like,
but what?
That's not right.
But here's the deal.
It makes more sense.
This is what's bothering me. Okay, not only did these angels of children that were completely and 110% innocent of any kind of wrongdoing, not only did they have to see their mother being buried, but then they essentially the one had to watch the other one die. I mean, could you imagine that terror? Sorry, Dr. Cole, I'm losing it a little bit. Sorry about that.
I mean, if there is any good news here at all, I don't think until the very end for the second daughter that they truly understood what was going on. At least that's what Chris Watts indicates. And given their ages, I think he's probably right. I think they were confused, right, and didn't quite know what was happening. And when he took one of the girls away and that girl didn't come back, that's when the other girl started to get scared. And he said that she said, "Please don't do what you did to Bella, to me." She knew at that point. That girl knew. And do I think that'll haunt him the rest of his life? He deserves
How could he live with him?
It's haunting me.
Oh.
I mean, just hearing it.
You asked that question, though, but do I think he's a suicide risk? I absolutely do. I think he will be for a long
He
time.
should have killed himself. He should have offed himself.
Most family annihilators do. So he killed both the daughters, and people are always like, how could he have done that? What did the daughters do? They didn't do anything wrong. And again, it's not because I understand it. It's not because I agree with it. It is only because I have talked to or read about, like, personally, like my people that work for me have done interviews with literally hundreds of people that have had similar experiences. That's the only reason I know about this. I'm going to tell you why and what he was probably thinking. It is not that he hated his daughters. It's not that he wanted to get rid of them. It is not that he wanted to kill them. I do not think he wanted to kill them. He felt like, because of his narcissistic mindset, that he was sparing them. That is what all family annihilators think. They think they're sparing their children from finding out later in life, when they're able to metabolize it, that their father murdered their mother. And the thing that I think that family annihilators are most terrified of is having that disappointment and revulsion on their children's faces.
But he deserved it.
Of course he deserves it. They all deserve it, but that's not the point. The point is, he didn't kill his daughters out of some hatred of them. He killed them because he felt like he was sparing them. That's why he suffocated them and didn't do it in a more violent way. That's why he tried to not just dispose of their bodies, but hide them from sight, because he didn't want to see them. That is why he blamed Shannon for killing the kids when he was picked up by police, even when he admitted to killing Shannon, because he couldn't face that part of himself, that he killed his children. It's too difficult. He finally did. And honestly, if I'll give him props for anything at all in life, it's that. Thank you for taking responsibility for killing your kids. I can't tell you how many guys I talk to that are never able to do it. That will never admit that they did it.
So on the scale, he's only 98% scum, and he wasn't even who knows, he wasn't even necessarily scum as a person, although
no, once you think about hurting your family.
I'm talking about before
yeah.
his life.
I agree.
His normal quote unquote life, let's say prior to the last couple months, shall we say, when things seem to be really going awry. And I agree with you. This sounds like it's just an absolute tragedy that could have been averted at many, many turns,
yes,
as most tragedies.
You file for divorce.
Yes, exactly.
No, of course you do, Joel. And I mean, everybody knows that. There, like I keep saying, there is no excuse for this. Was it Shannon's fault? No, of course it wasn't. It's just that one of these things that if you want to get into the mind of someone that does something like this, you have to take their side and see it from their eyes. It's the only way you can do it to begin to comprehend it.
Quite honestly,
what he was feeling was pressure.
If it would have been me personally, if my wife would have said, well, you're having an affair, I'd be like, yeah, okay. I want out anyway. This is my out. You see what I'm saying? Here's my out. Here's my to get off the highway here. Is my turnpike here. Instead of saying, yes, I am, and I'm much happier with her than I am with you, so let's end this. Like any rational person, and I'm not advocating cheating. Infidelity on its own is a horrible thing.
It's awful.
It is an awful thing.
He should have said it before he started the affair.
Never should have had the affair. As soon as he had those feelings and those thoughts, he should have been upfront with her and telling her, hey, this is how I'm feeling. These are the thoughts I'm having, and that speaks to a much larger issue in our relationship.
Absolutely. But again, you have to understand sort of the not psychopathy, that's not the right word, the psychology of a family annihilator and the psychology of the person that they choose to be with. Now, when you look at family annihilators in general, John List being a typical example, the Constantinos, you look at them, both of them, their wives, right, were extremely strong women that a lot of people would describe as overbearing and controlling and, yes, bitchy. And that is, but that's extreme. But I'm pointing that out because they choose those type of women, and they're also the type of men that can't always stand up to that type of women. It's a soup. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do.
It's a psychological soup that works itself into this pattern. So, do I think he would have become a family annihilator if Shanann hadn't acted the way that she did? Of course, I don't think he would. But I think he also chose her because he's a family annihilator. You know what I mean?
It's the chicken and egg. Yeah, exactly. There's no right answer to what's set in motion. Is what you're. It's just circumstances that created the monster rather than the monster creating the circumstances.
Yes, it really is the perfect storm. And that's why I wrote this out the way that I did, this really detailed timeline, so that the reader can see how many times this fire could have been put out.
Oh,
because
tons of
it's
times.
there. Tons of times when he is trying to talk to her, when he's trying to plead with her, from the very beginning, when he doesn't react with enthusiasm to the pregnancy announcement, the clock starts there, but so does the ability to stop this. And at every turn, she pushes him away and says, no, you're going to be excited about your new life. Yeah. And that's what kept this going. And it, again, not her fault, but that's how he feels. He feels powerless until the very end when he takes his power back in the worst possible way.
Yeah, I would have been like, hey, chick, here's the deal. You're nuts. I'm out of here. Yeah, this just isn't working for me. And that's what a normal person would do.
Of course, that's what any normal person would do.
And just be like, hey, you know what? We have our differences and we're not going to be together. But we will raise our children to the best of our ability apart. Mm-hmm. And gone their merry ways, or whatever. But I guess the thing that really gets me is okay. the fact that these children, these innocent kids, 100% innocent kids, he felt the need to end their promising lives because he felt bad, because he felt like it was all about how he would feel. And that's bull. You know what I mean? There's bigger things in this life than how you feel, and their lives are that. They're your children. They're bigger than you are.
But that is said from the perspective of a good and caring parent. And I just to kind of reality check people a little bit, especially all the people out there that are like, oh my God, I could never do that. So it's not about you. Oh, really? Why do you want your son to play football? Because you did then. Why do you want them to go to the same school? Because you did then. Why do you want them to learn the same foreign language as you, huh? Like, everybody does this. And it's not wrong. I'm just saying that everybody lives their lives through their kids a little bit. And everybody pushes their kids in the same direction that they went, or they wish they would have went. Like, God, Lori Loughlin pressuring her kids to go to college because she didn't go when neither kid wanted to go. This happens in multitudes of instances, subtly, all the time. So when it happens in a big way, they're the first person to cast a stone. But I'm like, really? Because you seem to think that your kids are mini versions of you, too, but you just didn't kill anyone.
You know what I tell my oldest son? Never become a radio host or a mechanic. Go do something fun.
But see, I was like, yeah, but that's like the opposite of that. Like, my parents kind of did the same thing. They're like, you have to be smart, you have to go to college, because they didn't, and they felt like that sort of cut off their opportunities. So you can't help but do that because you're your own person and they're being formed. So it's like, of course, this is the worst thing possible, but do we all fear what might be reflected in our kids' eyes? If you're a good parent, you do.
Yeah.
Right?
No, very true. Very true.
And he just couldn't handle it because he did the worst possible thing he could do, which was take their mother from them. And the thought of them looking at him like the murderer he is.
Yeah, he is a monster.
He is a monster. It was too much for him. And that is often why I see child murderers in prison, is because they can't handle it.
He's a weak little man.
He is.
That couldn't handle the pressure.
Yep.
And he
couldn't stand up to his wife.
And it was all about him at the end. All about him. And I am glad that he got caught. I'm glad he is in prison. He is where he belongs. No, take that back. He belongs in the cemetery, in my opinion.
He'll end up there. He'll leave in a box.
He belongs there. I would only hope that child murderers, if there is a God, if there is a higher power, there's a special place in hell for those kind of people. And they end up there.
I think there is. But again, this is like one of those stories where it shocked so many people. There was this idea that he just snapped. And again, I'm always brought back to the number one cause of death for pregnant women is murder. Don't ever forget that. And guess what? It's not just pregnant women that are maybe not in a marital relationship and surprise their thug boyfriend who ends up killing them. No, it's women that are married. Yeah. It's women that are married with supposedly good lives. So watch out. And when you suggest that you're going to get pregnant again or you announce it to somebody, maybe you want to watch their reaction really carefully.
You might want to do it in private without a camera around.
Right, without a camera and a T-shirt. I'm not saying it's her fault, but it's like there were a lot of red flags, not just red flags, like burning red flags. And they were ignored, and not just ignored by Shanann, but really ignored by her friends too. And that's kind of the injustice of it. Like, had she texted me that, I think I would have said, you know what? I think it's time for you to sit down and talk to Chris, because you guys are not on the same page with this pregnancy, which isn't good.
It's kind of funny because, like, when my wife found out about our surprise bundle of joy, I was actually happy about it before she was. She's like, what the hell? How can this be happening? That whole thing. And I embraced it in a way quicker than she did because my body wasn't the one changing, you know what I mean? And having to go through all of it. But yeah, I mean, you embrace it. You start to warm up to the idea. You start to get excited. I did, and it's a wonderful thing. Those surprises are not mistakes. I mean, they're here for a reason. Every child is here for a reason.
I know. I agree with you. It's just that some people can't come around to that, and if. I mean, that's like a lot of people. Like I got a text from somebody who said, if I was pregnant, I would fight for my marriage just like she did. And I'm not saying that that's the wrong decision, but if somebody wants out, let them leave.
Just let them go.
Let them.
Because you don't have a right to keep them.
No, you don't have
either.
a right to keep them. You
So-
absolutely do not have that right, even if you're married. And if they want to leave, especially when you're pregnant, for God's sake, let them leave.
Exactly. Well, we got to get out of here, end of the show, end to another show. And this is a harder one than average, but thank you guys for listening and making us as popular as we are. We love each and every one of you guys, and keep the texts coming in, keep the emails. We truly do value you guys' opinion. Till next time, everyone, take care of each other, love each other, and God, this family annihilators. Scary, scary stuff. After Hours AM is a production of Midwest Radio Productions. Please like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter. And please visit www.americas-most-haunted.com.